to fight me?
I don't want to fight you. So why did you kill that guy?
Because he raped my wife.
And what else did you do?
I cut his head off. Played soccer with his head.
You played soccer with his head?
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god. Fucking A.
It's a fucking decapitated body.
I was about to go get a Whataburger, bro. It's a body laying on the ground.
Extreme content warning. This video discusses an incident involving lethal violence and decapitation. The footage has been heavily edited with graphic moments omitted entirely. This content is restricted to viewers 18 and older and is presented purely for educational analysis of interrogation techniques and criminal justice procedures. If you are sensitive to discussions of violence or death, please discontinue viewing now.
So just remember that
On the night of June 20th, 2021, Las Cruces Police Department officers responded to Apodaca Park in southern New Mexico after receiving reports of a body in the roadway. What they discovered would become one of the most disturbing homicides in the city's history. 51-year-old James Garcia had been stabbed 84 times with a small switchblade knife, decapitated. And according to the suspect's own confession, his severed head had been kicked at passing vehicles. The suspect, 25-year-old Joel Arciniega-Saenz, was found at the scene with blood on his hands and clothing. This footage, obtained through public records requests, documents the interrogation that followed and raises important questions about mental competency, confession, voluntariness, and the criminal justice system that had already failed once before.
So, well, here's the thing, man, is we picked you up at Apodaca Park, okay? You remember that? Alright.
The interrogation began several hours after Arciniega-Saenz's arrest. Detective approaches the suspect, who is seated and appears disoriented. Under Miranda versus Arizona, suspects in custody must be informed of their constitutional rights before questioning. The detective references that he has already read these rights earlier, stating, quote, "I did read you your rights, so just remember that if you have any questions about your rights, you can ask." This is critical because any confession obtained without proper Miranda warnings or after rights have been invoked will likely be inadmissible in court. The suspect appears to acknowledge understanding, but remains largely unresponsive during the initial questioning phase.
Who's James? Have you ever met James before? Do you hang out down at the community of Hope at all? Where do you like to hang out when you're not at Apodaca Park?
Over the next several minutes, the detective employs what is known as a rapport-building phase, asking basic questions about the suspect's memory and location. Notice the suspect's responses consist primarily of "no sir" and head shakes. This minimal engagement is significant for two reasons. First, under the Fifth Amendment, a suspect has the absolute right to remain silent. The Supreme Court has held that silence cannot be used against a defendant at trial. Second, the suspect's mental state is clearly compromised. He appears confused, disoriented, and unable to provide coherent responses even to basic questions. The detective asks, "Do you remember why you're here?" The suspect responds, "No." This raises important questions about whether the suspect possesses the mental capacity to understand his rights and make knowing and voluntary waiver of those rights. Under Colorado versus Connolly, mental illness alone does not make a confession involuntary, but it is a factor courts consider under the totality of circumstances.
Do you know anything about what happened? Yeah. Can you tell me what you know about it? Why not? Can't remember? This would be a good time for you to try to start remembering. Okay. Because I'm going to tell you right now, we have somebody that's dead out there. You understand that? There's a man out there that's dead.
The Miranda decision established 4 key warnings that must be given to suspects in custody. First, you have the right to remain silent. Second, anything you say can and will be used against you in court. Third, you have the right to an attorney. And fourth, if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. These warnings serve a critical constitutional function, protecting the Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. However, merely reading these rights is not sufficient. The suspect must understand them and voluntarily waive them. Courts look at factors including the suspect's age, education, mental state, and whether they were subjected to coercive tactics. In this case, the suspect's disconnected responses and apparent confusion raise serious questions about his understanding.
Do you understand what's going down right now? No.
The detective's tone shifts from rapport building to confrontation. This is a serious situation that we got going on right now. We really need you to talk to us and tell us what happened. This transition is common in interrogation techniques, moving from sympathetic questioning to direct pressure. The detective explicitly states that someone is dead and that the suspect had blood on his hands. Under the totality of circumstances, test courts examine whether the interrogation methods were coercive. Factors include the lengths of questioning, deprivation of food or water threats, or promises. Here, the interrogation has been relatively brief so far, and the detective has not made explicit threats or promises. However, the suspect's continued silence and apparent inability to engage coherently are concerning indicators.
You're shaking your head no. What does that mean? You don't know? Because all we can do is put 2 and 2 together while we're out there. All we can do is take what we see on you and what we see out there at the scene. You understand that, right? And if we're misconstruing something or not getting something right, this is the time for you to tell us. And we want to make sure that you fully understand the gravity of the situation right now. So talk to us.
Extended periods of silence follow. The suspect sits with his eyes closed, unresponsive to questions about what happened. The detective states, "You're not in your head, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on." This statement is significant because it acknowledges what is visually apparent: the suspect is not functioning normally. Modern interrogation best practices recommend that when a suspect shows signs of severe mental impairment, questioning should cease and medical or psychological evaluation should be conducted. The concern is not merely about admissibility of statements, but about fundamental fairness and due process under the 14th Amendment. The detective begins asking about the victim, James Garcia, and the nature of their relationship. The questioning takes an unusual turn when the detective asks if Garcia was the suspect's boyfriend, suggesting a lover's quarrel. The suspect becomes visibly agitated, repeatedly stating, "I'm not gay, and why are you calling me gay?" This line of questioning is problematic for several reasons. First, it appears to be based on speculation rather than evidence. Second, the suspect's agitation suggests the questions are emotionally provocative, which could be seen as a tactic to elicit a response. Third, the focus on sexual orientation is irrelevant to establishing the elements of murder. Under New Mexico law, first-degree murder requires deliberate intention and premeditation. The relationship between suspect and victim, while potentially relevant to motive, does not change the legal analysis of whether the killing was premeditated.
So, I'm just trying to find out more information about James. So, was he your boyfriend? Were you guys dating each other? Okay, were you guys in some kind of lover's quarrel? Oh? Like, because he's your boyfriend, you guys got in an argument? That's just what I'm getting. You tell me, man. I'm not calling you gay. Yeah, I'm not judging you. You're married? Who are you married to? You married to James? Are you married to James?
Are you trying to insult me?
Huh?
Are you insulting me?
No, I'm not insulting you. I'm not calling you gay.
Well, why are you calling me gay?
We're not calling you gay, we're just asking if that's what it is.
I didn't call you gay.
Just call me gay.
I said, are you married to James?
No, who told you I'm married?
The suspect's responses become increasingly disjointed
Well, I'm
and
trying to
incoherent.
find out
He
why
states his name
James
is
dead in
Christopher
a
Ryan
park
despite
and
being
you
identified
had
as
blood
Joel
on your hands.
Arciniega-Saenz. He discusses tattoos, mentions people who do not appear to exist, and makes statements that have no connection to the questions being asked. This pattern strongly suggests a severe disconnect from reality. The suspect may be
So you
experiencing
have any kind of
psychosis,
lover's quarrel,
dissociation,
James?
or another acute mental health crisis. From a legal standpoint,
No,
this
I don't.
raises two critical issues. First, the admissibility of any confession obtained during this mental
So
state
is
is
that
highly
why you
questionable
attacked
under
James
the
tonight?
voluntariness standard. Second, and more fundamentally,
Because
this
he
behavior
called you gay?
raises questions about the suspect's competency
Is it
to
because
waive
James
his
is
Miranda
gay?
rights in the first place. A suspect must have the present mental capacity to understand the warnings and the consequences of waiving them.
I'm asking you.
Why are you gay?
I'm not lying about anything. You're telling me I don't know
You're
everything.
detective. Yeah, you act like a child.
I'm not acting like a child.
Yes, but
Okay.
I'll fuck you.
So then tell me about James. Tell me about James.
Fuck yourself. Show your cheeks ass.
Is that
Punch you in the face and see what happens.
so? Tell me.
If you're gonna shoot me in the head, trust me, it won't kill me at once.
Okay. So then what happened tonight?
I don't know, you tell me. You're an investigator.
Okay. So here's what I think happened. You and James are in a relationship. He said
The question
something
of
to
competency to waive Miranda rights is
And you
distinct from
killed him.
competency to stand trial, though related. To validly waive Miranda rights, a suspect must understand the nature of the rights being abandoned and the consequences of the decision. Courts use a totality of circumstances approach, examining factors including mental capacity, coherence of thought, and ability to
that what
engage in
happened?
rational decision-making. The erratic behavior, disconnected statements, and apparent confusion displayed here would give any court serious pause about whether the suspect possessed the mental capacity to knowingly and voluntarily waive his constitutional protections.
Why call me gay?
The detective shifts to questions about drug use and criminal history. The suspect denies using heroin despite the
Does your wife know
detective
where you're at
referencing
right
records. This exchange reveals the detective is aware
Did
of
she not
the
just
suspect's
been in the
background,
park with
including a
another
prior
guy?
arrest for vandalism at a local coffee shop. What the interrogation footage does not reveal, but
You
public
told me earlier
records
just
show
in the
is
park.
far more
You and
significant.
James
Joe
alone went to the park?
Arciniega-Saenz had been arrested just 2 months earlier
That's
in
exactly
April
what you told me.
2021 for vandalizing Beck's coffee house.
It's
More critically,
on
he had
camera.
been charged with murder in 2017 in the shooting death of 21-year-old Benjamin
Well,
Montoya.
help us understand
Those
what
charges were
was going on.
dismissed in April 2018 after a key witness was found in possession of a weapon matching the caliber used in the killing. The sister of Benjamin Montoya will later tell media, quote, "I just was very angry because they let a monster out. I prayed he wouldn't do it again and ruin someone else's
Do
family."
you have a brother named
1 month
Detective
before
Bartle?
this murder, Judge Kent Wingermuth had
No.
ruled Arciniega-Saenz was, quote, "not dangerous" and released him
Okay.
despite prosecutors' objections.
A brother named Jacob.
No, I don't even know Jacob.
You have a mom named Sam.
No,
You have a son named Jason.
no.
You raped and killed your own father.
No.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened with you and James tonight?
What happened with you? Yeah.
Like I said, you're sleeping in the park with James.
You had a wife named Scarlett, right?
Oh,
Yeah, you killed her because you're an alcoholic.
because I'm not. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's good. I knew who she was.
Okay. So then, tell me why you killed James.
Why did you kill Scarlett? You choked her to death.
So am I close to what happened? James made an advance on you and you didn't like it? Because you're not gay?
Did Scarlett cheat on you? Then you became gay. Scarlett Flores. What was your wife's name, right? She caught you getting made by her partner. You choked her to death.
Did you kill James because he was gay and you didn't like that?
No, I don't know what that is.
You don't know why you killed him?
No, I don't know who he is. I don't know.
Okay, so tell us what happened.
The interrogation continues with the suspect making increasingly disconnected
You stabbed
statements. He
James
mentions Spider-Man asks
because
about cigarettes,
something
discusses
he did
cameras
to
in the
you.
room, and shifts rapidly between unrelated topics. This behavior pattern is consistent with severe mental disturbance. At this point, best practices would suggest terminating the interrogation and seeking immediate psychiatric evaluation. However, the interrogation continues. From a constitutional perspective, the question is whether continuation of questioning under these circumstances rises to the level of coercion or exploitation of mental incapacity that would render subsequent statements involuntary.
You're gross. Mine's better. Your name's Christopher, right? That's your sister named Baker. You have a sister named Cassie Baker, dude. She had a son named Russell. It's Detective Bartle.
Do you want to talk to Detective Barlow?
No,
Why not?
because I heard him asking about
A turning point occurs when the suspect asks, "I don't know what happened to James." The detective seizes this opening, stating that DNA evidence from hand swabs will come back showing James Garcia's blood on the suspect's hands. He then directly states James Garcia is dead and asks how the blood got there. This is a standard interrogation technique presenting evidence real or suggested to elicit a confession. The detective then makes a direct accusation because you stabbed him right. That's how it happened. Notice the suspect's response a weak, "yeah," followed immediately by, "is not." True. This pattern of agreeing and then recanting is another indicator of confusion or suggestibility. Courts are particularly concerned about false confessions, obtained from mentally impaired suspects who may agree to suggestions without understanding them.
We have records of you using it, so. You're still using it? No? Okay. How long have you been clean for? Okay, then how can we have records of you being on heroin? So recently you were arrested for vandalism, right?
Vandalism?
Yeah.
What's vandalism?
You know what vandalism is, you were charged with it. You know that. You were arrested. And more than half of your arrested, you got arrested for it. You know what I'm talking about. You know what vandalism is. You got arrested for it, right?
No.
Yeah, you did.
What did I vandalize?
One of the coffee shops, right? That's what it was?
Yeah, Beck's coffee shop downtown.
Yeah, that's right.
A second investigator enters the room and introduces himself.
Sure you did.
The use of multiple interrogators is a common technique sometimes called good cop, bad cop, though it can take many forms. The fresh interrogator may be able to establish different rapport or approach the suspect from a new angle. The introduction is casual, almost friendly, which contrasts with the prolonged tense atmosphere that preceded it. This shift in dynamics sometimes produces confessions when the initial interrogation has failed to do so.
What else have you been charged with?
I don't know. What have you been charged with?
I haven't been charged with anything, so.
I've been charged with plagiarism.
The confession that follows is the core of the prosecution's case. The new investigator asks directly, "Why did you kill that guy?" The suspect responds, "Because he raped my wife." The investigator presses for details. When did this happen? 4 years ago. The suspect claims he confronted Garcia at the park to retrieve belongings that had been stolen 4 days earlier. He states that Garcia had a gun and a knife, that he disarmed Garcia and then used Garcia's own knife to stab him multiple times before decapitating him. He then admits to dragging the body into the street and, quote, played soccer with his head, kicking the severed head toward 14 different vehicles. This confession provided investigators with critical details, including motive, method, and actions after the killing. All three elements will be essential for a first-degree murder charge under New Mexico law, which requires deliberate intention and premeditation.
Get a cigarette.
Tried to vandalize the beds. Is that what you said?
No, listen.
You smoke?
Yeah.
You do? Just cigarettes?
Yeah, that's what I smoke.
That's it.
I don't do drugs. You can drug test me or drugs.
So you haven't had any drugs, you just smoke cigarettes. That's it. What kind of cigarettes you smoke?
Any kind?
Any kind? Whatever you can get your hands on?
Yeah. What do I do for?
How do you get money?
Spend money.
Payment money?
Yeah, it's beg. I don't really beg, I just pick up cigarette, that's all that matters.
Or you usually do your hand on the head or wherever? Wherever. All around town. Do you hang around Apodaca Park quite a bit or no?
Sometimes. Not too much.
Not too much.
Been there a couple times. Not to stay out of that area.
Where do you usually hang out at then? If you're not over there.
I'm homeless.
So all over the place.
Under New Mexico statutes, section 30-2-1 first-degree murder requires 3 elements. First, deliberate intention to kill. This means the act was purposeful, not accidental. Second, premeditation. The defendant must have formed the intent to kill before the act, even if only moments before. Third, the killing must be without lawful justification or excuse. The suspect's confession provides evidence of all 3 elements. He states he went to the park specifically to confront Garcia about stolen property, suggesting planning. He describes disarming Garcia and using the knife repeatedly, showing deliberate action. And while he claims Garcia raped his wife 4 years earlier, this does not constitute legal justification under New Mexico law. Vigilante justice is not a recognized defense. The confession, if deemed voluntary and admissible, would provide overwhelming evidence for conviction.
What else do I ask? I want to know what happened to James.
The suspect continues providing details that only the perpetrator would know. He describes the knife as a switchblade taken from Garcia. He states the incident occurred at 4:59 in the morning when it was, quote, pitch black. He reiterates that he kicked the victim's head toward 14 different passing vehicles. These specific details corroborate the physical evidence found at the scene. Officers had discovered Garcia's body in the roadway on Madrid Avenue with his head approximately 10 yards away. The small switchblade knife was found stuck in the ground near where Arciniega-Saenz was seated. The medical examiner would later confirm Garcia had been stabbed 84 times and decapitated. One finger had also been severed. The confession aligns with the physical evidence in virtually every material respect, which significantly strengthens the prosecution's case and undermines any potential argument that the confession was fabricated or coerced.
It's gonna come back with James' blood. James Garcia's blood, it's gonna be on your hands. James Garcia's dead.
That is. Well, I've never seen that guy.
You never seen that guy?
No.
Then how is his blood on your hands?
I don't know.
You don't know? Like, that's all it says, because you stabbed him, right? That's how it happened.
When the investigator asks about the suspect's wife, whose alleged rape he cited as motive, the suspect becomes vague. He states she is homeless and he does not know where she is. He refuses or is unable to provide her name or any way to locate her. Court documents later noted that Arciniega-Saenz never identified his wife throughout the investigation. This is significant because the central motive for the murder, revenge for a rape that occurred 4 years earlier, cannot be corroborated. No rape was ever reported, no wife has been identified, and no evidence supports this claim beyond the suspect's own statement. This does not invalidate the confession regarding the act of killing, but it does call into question the suspect's credibility and mental state.
So, is Ricky's.
The interrogation concludes with the suspect requesting a cigarette and the investigator thanking him for his honesty. This is notable because it demonstrates no explicit promises were made in exchange for the confession. The investigator says, quote, "I appreciate you being honest with us. I can see what I can do for you regarding the cigarette." This carefully worded response avoids making any promise of leniency or benefit in exchange for the confession, which would be improper and could render the confession involuntary.
Look, Joel, we know what you did. We just want to know why you did it.
It's not named Joel.
It is Joel.
So
What do you want to be called then?
Altair. That's my real name.
I'm sorry?
I gave it to the cop to arrest me.
Altair?
Altair.
Altair.
That's my real name.
Okay, Altair.
Okay.
So then why did you kill that guy?
It's because he raped my wife.
He raped your wife. When did this happen?
4 years ago.
4 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that reported?
No, we were all homeless.
What's that?
We were all homeless.
You guys are all homies.
Homeless.
Homeless, I'm sorry. Where did that happen at?
The same spot he was at.
The same spot he was at?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you killed this guy because you raped your wife 4 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. How did you...
Those are our bags that you had to go steal from us.
Okay. Which bags are yours?
3 backpacks belonged to my wife and her 2 friends.
Okay.
I wanted to get them back. I just tried to take him. He pulled the gun on me, so yeah, I had a knife and I stabbed him.
And what else did you do?
Because
Okay. Because you had your bags. What knife did you use?
some kind of knife in his pocket.
He had it?
Yeah, I pulled it out.
You
Following
pulled
this
off with him?
interrogation, Joel Arciniega-Saenz was formally charged with first-degree murder in the death of James Garcia. However, the path to justice would not be
What kind
straightforward.
of gun was it?
The case was significantly delayed by challenges surrounding Arciniega-Saenz's mental competency to stand trial. Under New Mexico law, a defendant must have sufficient present ability to consult with their attorney with a reasonable degree of rational understanding and must have a rational as well as factual understanding of the proceedings against them. Given the behavior documented in this interrogation, defense attorneys raised legitimate questions about whether Arciniega-Saenz met the standard. The competency evaluation process lasted nearly 4 years.
I stabbed him to death. I stabbed him because I dragged his body down the street and gave him a good soccer on his head.
You played soccer with his head?
Yeah, I keep that passing cars.
How many cars passed by you?
About 14 different cars passed by. They were all looking at me.
Really?
And I just didn't want to speak to them because all red is in the
What time did this all happen at?
4:59 in the morning.
Was it dark outside or was it light outside?
It was
Pitch black. Did you use the same knife that you stabbed him with to cut his head off?
What?
Did the knife that you stabbed him with, is that the same knife you used to cut his head off?
Yeah. Yeah, like a switchblade or something.
And that's what you used?
Yeah.
On March 5, 2025, after lengthy legal proceedings, Joel Arciniega-Saenz was found guilty of first-degree murder by a jury in Doña County. The verdict came nearly 4 years after the killing. District Attorney Fernando Macias released a statement saying, quote, "Despite lengthy challenges, we remain steadfast in our pursuit of justice for those affected. We extend our condolences to the family and loved ones of James Garcia and reaffirm our commitment to holding violent offenders accountable." Arciniega-Saenz remains held at the Doña County Detention Center awaiting sentencing. First-degree murder in New Mexico carries a potential sentence of life imprisonment. The case also renewed calls for reform in the criminal justice system after it was revealed that Arciniega-Saenz had been released just 1 month before this murder, despite prosecutors' warnings that he posed a danger to the community.
Did you know he was there?
No, I knew he was there. I was small. He had stolen our stuff. I just wanted my stuff back. He started acting up.
When did he steal your guys' stuff?
4 nights ago.
4 nights ago? Where was your stuff at where he stole it from?
We were on the other side of, near the Walmart on Arciniega. Yeah, we were all hanging out there. We all fell asleep and all looking for stuff. So that's why I'm looking for.
You found him with your stuff.
Yeah, he was there. I asked for it back. I woke him up politely. He started trying to stab me. He started trying to find me something like. Did he bring my girlfriend or something?
Okay. Can you give us her name so we talk?
She's
This case presents the complex intersections of mental health interrogation practices and the constitutional protections. The confession obtained was crucial to the prosecution, and ultimately the jury found it sufficiently reliable to convict. However, the interrogation raises important questions about best practices when dealing with suspects who display clear signs of mental impairment. While the detectives did not engage in overtly coercive tactics such as threats, promises, or physical abuse, the decision to continue questioning a suspect who appears severely disconnected from reality tests the boundaries of voluntariness. Modern interrogation training emphasizes the importance of recognizing mental health crises and seeking appropriate evaluation before proceeding. The balance between effective law enforcement and protection of constitutional rights remains a central tension in American criminal justice.
And his real name was Joel. I guess his name was Joel. Joel Garcia. He always had a different name back there. His real name was Joel, but he was not from this country.
No. Where are you from?
It's a place called
The Las Cruces Police Department detectives receive a grade of B. The detectives receive a B because they successfully obtained a detailed confession that was ultimately admissible and led to conviction. They properly administered Miranda warnings. They did not engage in overtly coercive tactics, such as threats or promises. And they documented the interrogation on video, which is best practice for transparency and accountability. The confession they obtained included specific details that corroborated physical evidence and provided insight into the defendant's state of mind, both critical for proving first-degree murder. However, the grade is not higher because the detectives continued interrogation despite clear signs that the suspect was experiencing severe mental impairment. Best practices in modern interrogation recommend stopping, questioning, and seeking psychological evaluation when a suspect displays the level of confusion, incoherence, and disconnection from reality that Arciniega-Saenz demonstrated. The line of questioning about the suspect's sexual orientation appeared speculative and unnecessarily provocative, contributing little to the investigation while potentially inflaming the suspect. Additionally, while the confession was ultimately deemed admissible, the fact that competency became a significant issue requiring years of evaluation suggests that red flags were present during the interrogation that might have warranted a different approach. Joel Arciniega-Saenz received a grade of F. Arciniega-Saenz receives an F because he brutally murdered another human being, stabbing James Garcia 84 times before decapitating him and desecrating his remains. Under New Mexico law and basic moral standards, this conduct represents the most serious criminal violation possible. His claim that the killing was motivated by revenge for an alleged rape 4 years earlier, even if true, does not constitute legal justification. Vigilante justice is not recognized under American law. The proper course of action would have been to report the alleged crime to law enforcement. Furthermore, Arciniega-Saenz's inability or refusal to provide any information about his alleged wife, whose rape he cited as justification, undermines his credibility. No rape was ever reported, and no victim was ever identified. The confession also revealed that he stole Garcia's belongings before the confrontation, suggesting additional criminal motive beyond the claimed revenge. Perhaps most troubling is that this was not Arciniega-Saenz's first involvement with violent crime. He had been charged with murder in 2017, and though those charges were dismissed, the circumstances suggested serious criminal behavior. Just 1 month before killing Garcia, he was arrested for vandalizing a local business, but was released after a judge ruled he was not dangerous despite prosecutors' objections. This pattern of violent behavior leading to a brutal homicide represents a complete failure on his part to respect human life, obey the law, or make responsible choices. There are no mitigating factors that excuse or justify this conduct. This case illustrates several systemic challenges within the criminal justice system. First, it demonstrates the difficulty of managing defendants with serious mental health issues. The interrogation footage clearly shows a person in crisis, yet the system proceeded with traditional law enforcement approaches. Second, it highlights the consequences of releasing potentially dangerous individuals without adequate safeguards. Arciniega-Saenz had a history of violent behavior, but was released 1 month before committing this murder. Third, it raises questions about the balance between effective interrogation techniques and constitutional protections, particularly for vulnerable populations. And finally, it reminds us that behind every criminal case are real victims and devastated families. James Garcia, whatever his circumstances, was a human being whose life was taken in an extraordinarily brutal manner. His family deserves justice, which after a lengthy process was ultimately delivered. At the same time, the victim of the 2017 murder, Benjamin Montoya, and his family were forced to relive their trauma when the person accused of killing him committed another violent homicide. These failures have real human costs. Let us know if there's an interaction or legal topic that you would like us to discuss in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out our second channel, Audit the Court, for even more police interaction and courtroom content.